Welcome to Civil War Digital Digest. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Felicia.
And today we're going to continue with our talking about trying lard in an earlier episode, and we're going to put some of that lard to use. We're going to be making a lard paste out of the Kentucky Housewife that was published in 1839. A lard paste is pie crust, an amazing use for lard, not just back then, but today. And one of the things that we'd use that would be the leaf lard. If you go back and watch that episode, we talked about leaf lard was great for baking because it has very little porkiness and smell to it. You can see just the snow whiteness here, and this is at room temperature, and it's so soft, which is going to come in really handy here as Felicia shows you how to make this pie paste.
So we're going to take our Kentucky Housewife and get started. The ingredients you're going to need to start is going to be lard, flour, a little bit of salt, and heavy cream. If you don't have heavy cream, you can substitute cold water as well. So we have their recipe because their recipe made so many pie crusts, and we're only looking to make one pie today. So we start with 2 cups of flour, and we're going to make that into a stiff dough with cream and add a little bit of salt, and then we're going to roll it out. So I'm going to start with my salt, just a pinch of salt, a little more.
Now, the Kentucky Housewife says use cold cream in this recipe. We've made a very similar paste for pies at home, and we'd use a cold water method. That also shows up in some period cookbooks, so either one works. If you don't have cream, use cold water.
So I'm just going to use my hands and try to work some of the flour in and make it into a stiff paste ball, basically. So that way, when I go to roll it out, it'll be all combined into a ball, and then we'll start there when we roll it out. A little bit more, just a tiny bit, I think, because I like to start. Ooh, too much. That's going to require a little more flour, I think. We'll see. So if you add too much flour or too much cream, like I just did, you can just throw a little bit of flour in, and it'll soak that up, and your paste will be just fine.
Grab that for you.
I got
You got
it. Just a little. Soak up some of that. Because you can kind of hear how sticky that is. Okay, I think we're good. So that's a nice thick paste, almost like bread dough. Another recommendation, once you're done with this, put some water in your bowl because then it'll be easier to clean because it dries very hard. Okay.
Baking pro tip. When it comes to flour and water, rinse everything out right away or it will be concrete.
Pretty much. So, first things first, you want to have a nice, well-floured surface to roll out your dough, your paste. And then the other part is you want to flour your rolling pin. And this just keeps everything from sticking. So we're going to roll out the pie crust nice and thin, and then we're going to spread lard on it. We'll roll it back up, and then we're going to repeat that process a few times to incorporate the lard. The other thing you can do if your rolling pin is sticking is flour the top of your paste, and then it'll keep your rolling pin from sticking to your paste. And that works in modern baking as well.
So now that she has that initial dough rolled out, she's going to take 1/4 of the lard and spread it nice and even across the whole surface. Dust that with flour and then roll it back up. And that's going to happen 4 times, which is going to add a lot of flakiness to the dough as it cooks, to the paste. And you're using 1/4 of your lard each time. So if you measured out those 4 ounces for this halved recipe, by the time you're done, you'll be done with your lard and you'll be ready to move on to the next step.
The other thing to do is really make sure that you're getting your lard clear out to the edges. I made that mistake once when making a puff paste, and the edges ended up really, really dry. So, okay. Now we will go ahead and dust this before we roll it up. Okay. And now we'll roll it up like a jelly roll. Reflour our work surface so it stays nice and well floured. That way nothing sticks. And then, just for ease and consistency, I like to fold my jelly roll in half when I try to roll it out. It helps kind of get a more even roll, I think.
So you can see just by rolling that out again, doing this 4 times, look at all of those layers that are going to be created. And when the final paste is rolled out, you really won't see those layers, but they're going to be there, which is really going to create that flakiness.
The other thing is, if you find that your rolling pin is sticking, you can just use a little bit of flour on your paste, and it should fix that. You know, your lard is kind of a wet ingredient, so all the extra flour that you're adding by flouring everything is going to just mix with the lard.
So I really encourage making this paste because it's so simple, it's delicious, and it's versatile. So we're going to make this into a fruit pie here in a little bit. But you can also use it for meat pies. Actually, the Kentucky Housewife talks about that it also makes good cakes for breakfast when rolled thin, cut into squares, and baked hastily. So really with this one paste, you could make a meat pie for dinner. You could then make a pie crust for a fruit pie of some type for dessert. And then you could have some leftover pie crust to be able to use that in the morning for some breakfast cakes or breakfast crackers.
That's probably why I made so much.
That's probably, yeah, exactly. Like we halved it, and I think we still get 2 to 3 pie crusts out of the halved recipe. So when you think about doing the whole thing, we're going to get 4, maybe 6. And it will keep too. So you can make this ahead of time, roll it up in a ball. When you're done with the 4 steps of getting that flakiness, pop it into the fridge for a couple of days, bring it out to room temperature before you roll it out to its final shape. Or you could even pop it into the freezer for a couple of months as well. So you think about having one paste that could be made, and then that time spent on that one paste now can be used for multiple dishes and multiple meals, maybe for the next 2 days. And how important that would be when you think about how busy life would be when you're trying to survive on a Civil War era farm. There's so many other things you think about that we somewhat take for granted as very quick things, like washing dishes. We have a dishwasher for that, or very hot water and soap right there, or laundry. And those are all things that could take hours and a lot more work to have happen, along with taking care of all the animals and the livestock and the fields and the equipment. So having one recipe where you could spend the time doing that, and then bam, you have something that can be used for several meals into the future.
So we're going to go ahead and do this 3 more times, and then our pie crust will be ready to roll out the final time and bake a pie. Okay, so we've rolled it out for the last time now, and I'm just going to cut it in half and work half and half with my pie crust here. Okay, so we'll roll out one pie crust, and then we'll roll out the other for the top. So the only difference when you're rolling it out at this stage is you're just going to roll it out a lot thinner. So we have a one final roll out. And then at this point, it's usable. You can get it kind of into the shape you want it, whether it's for pie or crackers or anything like that Jeremy mentioned earlier.
So thank you so much for watching. Really encourage you to try this lard paste from the Kentucky Housewife 1839. If you don't have cream, you can use cold water. And find some good lard. Talk to a local farmer, talk to your local butcher. I'm sure they'd be able to help you out so you can have that connection to history and make wonderful crackers and pies. Your family and friends will think you spent all day making this amazing pie crust, but really it's pretty simple and it comes together really quick. On behalf of Civil War Digital Digest and Our Farm History Acres, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.